Let me catch you up on what's going on. I got all the lumber on Friday. Yesterday, I was able to cut all of the lumber to width. 4.5 inches for the top members. These were 3.58. I put everything through the thickness planer while it was still long so I could eliminate the snipe as much as possible. Then I cut everything, all the pieces on top to the exact length. Put a rabbet on the top pieces that need a rabbet and put Kreg screws on the cross members here. I'm not going to use any glue on this table. Originally I was going to use 2x material and that was unavailable. So now I'm creating those half lap joints using 3/4 inch material, and it's actually a lot easier. But I'm only going to screw this together. With my experience on the other picnic table, I know that some of these pieces of cypress might last 25 years and some may only last a couple. And I want to make this repairable either by myself or some other carpenter in the future. I went through every piece of lumber, made sure that I had the best side up, marked that with a T with chalk, and I was just getting ready to put a chamfer on these members when I thought I should take a dry run to make sure that those are going to fit. And sure enough, they didn't. I used my setup block, but it looks like I made these 0.07 inches too wide. It's a lot easier to take more material off than it is to put material on. So that's what I'm going to do. I like the spacing here. I think it's good. Take these down a little bit and do another dry fit. Well, I had a hard time with the spacing, but I finally got it. I needed 1 wrap of painter's tape around each one to make it right. I like the spacing. I'm going to drive a 5/8 inch brad right in the middle of each one of these, just so they'll stay. Yesterday before I left, I flipped the table over and made sure everything looked good from the top side. And now I just laid out these corresponding members. This one is full length, so it will support both of these. And I don't rely here on just the Kreg screws. I'm going to use 1.5 inch screws. They're interior, exterior, Power Pro. So the next thing to do is to clamp each one of these boards in place very tightly, and then screw it down. This is what it looks like after I put all the screws in. I haven't turned it over yet. Dana's coming out today, so she'll have her first look at it. Well, the top is finished. I've given it 3 coats of stain. The stain doesn't exactly match the sample they gave me. Dana will have the final say on that. I may have to stain it one more time with a little bit different, darker color. The last thing I'd want to do, though, before I flip it over, is to burnish it with just a brown paper sack. Just kind of like 300 or 400 grit sandpaper. It'll just set this stain in nicely. It gives the table a different feel. I go with the grain. I have decided that I'm going to put some braces midway here, like the original photo showed. I'm afraid that these might warp. Also, I want to give it some additional bracing underneath. I noticed when I was staining it that it's remarkably flexible, and I'd like to take some of that flex out of it. I'm sure the apron will do that, but on the underside I'll put a brace here and on each third. So I'm going to finish burnishing this and then flip it over and start on the legs. Well, I thought I had finished this, but Dana came out yesterday and does not like the finish. So it's all going to come off. Took an hour and 32 minutes to get it this far. The majority of the stain is off. I'm still not sure how I'm going to address this area in here. I may have to disassemble the whole table to get to that. I'm pretty sure I can get to this with the V-block I was using before. And then we'll have to see what it looks like. I've gone over it with 40 grit. There will be lots of swirl marks in here. So the next thing I'll do is go over it with 60 grit and then 80 grit. And then back tomorrow to Sherwin-Williams to see if they have any better suggestions. So this might look familiar to you. This is where I was about 4 hours of sanding ago. I decided not to try to get inside. It looks like a shadow line. I did get the space here that I had chamfered cleaned up. Went back to Sherwin-Williams. They made it right. Clearly the one I have circled here is not the one they said it was. So they're not sure if they gave the wrong stain to me or the wrong stain to somebody else. But they made it right, didn't charge me, and now they've got the stain right. One of the problems I've discovered with this thermally heat-treated lumber is that I sanded it, take to Sherwin-Williams, and then after a couple of days, it oxidizes and is about 3 shades darker than it was prior to pre-sanding it. I'm not going to stain this before I take it to Dana. Instead, I'm going to call this the end of the tabletop video. I'll flip it over and start on the aprons and the legs. That'll be part 3. Thanks for watching.